Hope all of us are doing great. My name is Ernest, and this is Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. In today's discussion, we're going to look at the major accessory organs of the human digestive system. And we had mentioned them earlier in some of our videos on the introduction to human digestive system in that specific case. Now, in this case, I'm going to use a series of illustrations in terms of pictorial representation. And I'm going to put a disclaimer, of course, that I do not own copyright to these specific images. But of course, I'd like to encourage our members to check the website for the Pearson education for some of the elaborate discussions and detailed, aspect of the human anatomy. And they're going to form a basis for our discussion on this specific concept of accessory organs in the human digestive system. And I'd like also to encourage our members to check our description boxes for various links of other similar videos, which are going to assist us understand the overall aspect of digestion in human. Now, I'd listed a few of these specific accessory organs in my introductory part. And of course, I'd said that these are going to be organs which are going to collaborate together with the main digestive organ in order to ensure that the overall concept of digestion is successful. And this included the teeth, which are located at the oral cavity. The salivary glands are located at adjacent organs of or adjacent muscles and cells of this specific region. And of course, we're going to see that this is also going to constitute the liver, which we are going to look at in details in some way, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and of course, those are going to form some of the accessory organs which we are going to look into. Now, in this case, I'd look at an exclusive section of this oral cavity, which had mentioned the concept of the tooth and some of the basic plans of the human tooth. So in this case, I'm going to put a link of that specific discussion in the description box, and that is going to assist us understand that specific aspect. So generally, I'm going to look at that specific section for the salivary glands and other accessory organs, and that's going to form a final bit of this specific section of the human, accessory organs in the digestive system. Now in this case, of course, I'm going to use the illustration above, and as I had mentioned, the saliva forms one of the major excretions, especially at the oral cavity, which is going to be very essential in the process of digestion. And in this case, saliva in its specific form is going to consist of a range of enzymes, which are basically going to assist in the process of digestion. And in addition to that, it's going to consist of a mucus, which is going to, of course, act as a lubricant on a mass of food which is being swallowed, or rather being undertaken through the first stages of a physical digestion. Now, in that particular case, I've mentioned the concept of enzymes, and in this case specifically, I can mention the concept of a amylase enzyme that, of course, begin the digestion of a starch at the initial point of this specific concept of human digestion. So in this case, the concept of or the enzyme of amylase is involved in digestion of a starch, and that basically begins to happen in this specific section of the oral cavity or the mouth, as we had mentioned. So in this case, we are also going to have some of the enzymes like a lingual lipase, which are going to be activated by the stomach in this specific process of digestion. And these are going to be involved in digestion of fats, of course, which are going to be subsequent processes after the specific aspect of oral digestion has taken place. Now, I've mentioned the concept of mucus being involved in lubrication of this specific food. And apart from that, they are going to be involved in binding this specific aspect of food together in form of a bolus, which are going to be taken down through the other digestive processes. Now, also, we are going to see that inside saliva, there is a lysosome or lysozyme. Lysozyme is an enzyme that, of course, plays a vital role in acting as an antibiotic, which, of course, is contained in this specific part of secretion that we refer to as saliva. Now, there are various salivary glands which are located adjacent to or around this specific section of the oral cavity, and we're going to look at them in some way. Now, apart from these other secretions or other roles which are being played by the saliva, I'm going to mention also that the saliva consists of other ions which are going to form an electrolyte, and basically this entails the chlorine, potassium, and perhaps the sodium later, which I'm going to mention in this case. And concerning its acidity or alkalinity, saliva is a substance that consists of a pH ranging between 6.8 and 7. and of course that is going to form one of the essential parts of ensuring that the pH scale is maintained as the subsequent processes of digestion are going to be taking place. Now, in this case, I had mentioned the various ranges of glands which are going to be involved in secretion of saliva. Now, from this specific image, we can see that these specific sections are going to be given in terms of these specific glands, which of course are going to be the sublingual glands, which are located at this specific point. We can see that this is located slightly below this specific section of the tongue, and of course this is going to constitute the sublingual glands. Now we can divide this basically into extrinsic salivary glands and of course intrinsic, but in this case I'm going to mention them generally so that we can of course appreciate their specific location. So we have the sublingual glands, the submandibular glands, which are located at this particular lower part, and of course as from this specific mentioned term of mandibular, we can be able to locate at what specific point. Lingua, that's the tongue. Mandibular, these are mandibular jaws located at this specific point. Therefore, the glands adjacent or located at this region are referred to as the submandibular joint. And then we have the parotid glands, which are located at this specific points. And the sublingual, submandibular, and the parotid are going to constitute the intrinsic section of the, of course, these salivary glands. And we're going to see other in finer details perhaps which are going to form the intrinsic salivary glands, which are small in size and of course dispersed amidst several parts of this specific section of the oral cavity. Now that forms a section of the glands for the salivary glands for of course the oral cavity, which are going to form of course an accessory organ for the digestive system in human. Now, I earlier mentioned the concept of the gallbladder and the pancreas, and I'd said that basically the gallbladder is going to be acting as a storage point for this specific bile, and of course this bile is going to be, of course, secreted from the liver and stored in this specific point. Upon some concentration, there's going to be a trigger by the CCK or the trigger mechanism, which is going to be ensuring there is a release of the bile, which is going to be released into the duodenum, which is a first section of the small intestine, and this is going to be involved in the emulsification of lipids at this particular point. So therefore, this section of the gallbladder and the liver are going to coordinate in ensuring that there is a digestion of lipids, and that's one of the essential parts of those accessory organs located at that specific point. Now, this specific point, they mentioned that basically the coordination between the gallbladder and the pancreas are going to ensure that there's secretion released into the intestinal lumen, which is going to assist in the process of digestion. And I'd said that basically, apart from storage of this specific bile, we're going to see that the coordination between the gallbladder and the pancreas are going to ensure that this specific activity of digestion is taking place successively. And in a sense, I had mentioned that there's going to be release of pancreatic juice from this specific point, which is going to be containing a range of chemicals, which is, of course, one of them I can mention is pancreatic enzymes, which are going to be released in order to ensure that there is digestion taking place at this specific point. And of course, these are going to be released into the small intestine and the section of the duodenum, as I had mentioned earlier in one of our videos. So therefore, the pancreatic juice together with the bile, which is going to be released at this point, is also going to be complementing on the various aspects of digestion. And I'm not going to go into detail about that since I had mentioned to them in one of our videos. But one of the major roles of these basic accessory organs is to provide bile and pancreatic juice in that specific order. So lastly, we're going to look at the human liver. And of course, the human liver is one of the largest glands in the body, or gland organs in the body. And this basic plan of the liver, we're going to see that this liver lies under the diaphragm. And of course, it's going to consist of two loops, which we are going to see at this specific point for the right and left loop in that particular case. So this is the anterior surface of the loop, and we're going to see that the ficellar surface is going to expose for us some of the loops of the liver that we're going to see being given in that specific order. Apart from the left and right, we have what we refer to as a caudate loop, and the quadrate loop in that specific case. Now the liver is going to coordinate with the other accessory organs as we're going to see embedded at this specific point. And of course, it's going to form a wide range of functions which are going to assist in the overall process of digestion. Now, it's also going to be a coordination point for other particular systems or elaborate systems like the cardiovascular system. Now, as we are going to see later, that it's going to form a reservoir for storage of some components of the cardiovascular system, like the blood. Now, in this case, as I had mentioned, the liver is going to be facilitated or nourished through the hepatic artery and the hepatic photo vein. And of course, this is going to form some of the basic functions of bringing in and taking out blood from this particular gland or glandular organ that we refer to as the liver. Now, I'm going to mention some of the few functions which are going to be undertaken by the liver, and this is going to assist us appreciate the overall aspect of the liver in the human digestive system. Now, the liver forms of course, a main organ for metabolic regulations of the body, and this involves a range of activities ranging from a storage of ions and vitamins. For example, iron A and vitamins B12 and D, of course, are stored in this specific point of the human digestive system or accessory organ. And also, we're going to see that the regulation of our blood sugar level or glucose level is being undertaken by the liver. And of course, it's also involved in the storage of our glucose and synthesizing of some of the glucose that is going to be needed by the body. Now, the concept of course, fat synthesis also is going to occur in this specific part of the body. And this, of course, includes phospholipids and cholesterol, which we have mentioned in one way or another in our discussions of various aspects of course, proteins and synthesis. And in this case, I've also mentioned the concept of protein synthesis, which of course include the concept of plasma. And of course, this is going to be involved, of course, this is going to be undertaken by this specific organ, which we have referred to as the liver. Now, degradation of amino acids as well is going to occur in this specific point of the liver. And of course, I'm not going to go into details, but just mention those specific functions. And in some of our videos, as we are going to mention about the concept of amino acids, then therefore I'm going to do an elaborate part of a discussion on that specific point. Now, the liver also involved in the removal of pathogens and, of course, some of the damaged cells. And this is going to be done using these phagocytes that we are found, of course, in the liver, as we are going to see later in some of our discussion. Now, also the elements of detoxification of blood from the digestive system, which we said basically in order to remove drugs and other harmful substances such as alcohol, of course, is going to happen by the liver. So it's heavily involved in the process of detoxification, and that's one of the major functions of this liver. So I had mentioned in one of my statements that it's going to act as a reservoir for blood, and that's in collaboration with the cardiovascular system, which I mentioned in some of my statements. So that's of course include some aspects, and I had mentioned in one of the accessory organs that is going to be involved in the manufacture of bile, and of course this is going to form an essential of course component of secretion during the concept of digestion in the human body. So those are the major functions of the some of the accessory organs that we've come across, especially and the discussion of our digestive systems in human. And of course, in any case, if we need to do an elaboration of various aspects of this video that we have discussed, I'm going to put a link of these specific videos in other description boxes of other videos. And of course, that's going to assist us in trying to appreciate the overall aspect of the accessory organs which we have discussed, and the concept of human or digestion in humans. So that's it for now, guys. Kindly subscribe to our channel and follow us in the links that I'm going to put in the description boxes of various videos, and engage us in the comment section for more. So that is for now, guys. Bye. God bless you. Catch us in our next video.